What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now, for this video, we're going to be jumping into Way of X, issue number 2. Now, if you didn't catch issue number 1, go ahead and check out the link in my description, as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything that's been going on in this line. Now, in the last issue, we had a villain revealed. That villain being none other than Legion. Now, this is written by Salmon Spurrier. Art is by Bob Quinn. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so this issue, it picks us up back in the graveyard. And we see Legion using his powers on Nightcrawler. And Nightcrawler right now is begging him to stop. Stop because it hurts. It's hurting him. And Nightcrawler tells him, we know that you are the Patchwork Man. We know that you were the one doing this to Krakoa. But we need to figure out why. Let's try to talk about this. Let's try to be some kind of civil. But Legion, or David as he wants to be called, he lets us know that he is not this individual. And he does what he calls a wee bit of surgery and dives into the mind of Nightcrawler. And inside his head, Legion is just like, man, this is not what I was expecting to find. And this is where we see at sea a giant pirate ship, and it looks to be being taken down by the Kraken. Legion or David, he really expected to find something, maybe a little churchy or something up those alleys because he is a priest. But at the end of the day, this shows more than anything that he is severely conflicted individual. But David also tells him, I don't think this is entirely your fault. And he goes to the head of the ship and he pulls some kind of medallion off of it. Pulling this medallion off, he comes back into reality and he shows Nightcrawler a kind of stolen treasure, if you will. But this is a sign that someone has been playing silly little bugger games in his subconscious. Now, Nightcrawler, he's left with questions, but the one question he wants to know is who? Who would do this? But David, he tells him, no, I'm not going to give you that information just yet. I know who is doing this. I know who is behind it. But I need a favor for a favor. And he lets him know that right now his body, it's about 10 minutes from causing an extremely nasty accident. And he'd hate to have to tear reality in half without meaning to. And he tells him that he left coordinates with inside his mind. But he better head to Krakoa to fetch some kind of muscle because he's going to need some help. Now, this is where we're taken to Krakoa. And on Krakoa, we see Dazzler on stage singing at the bar, and Fabian Cortez sitting here drinking alone, looking just miserably sad. And this is when Dr. Nemesis comes up to him. Now, Dr. Nemesis, his intentions are kind of ill-mannered in this regard. He's here to find somebody to test and use for experiments. Experiments with all of his little psychedelic drugs and all that stuff that he's got going on. And Fabian, he is just feeling sorry for himself. He's feeling sorry because he got fired. Because he's been so cocky, and he still thinks that without him that they're gonna fail. And that they couldn't do it without him. He's still holding on to that ego and not realizing that's the biggest part of why he got fired in the first place. But as they're all having this conversation, this is when we see Nightcrawler pop in. And the first person he goes to is Dr. Nemesis. Because Dr. Nemesis, he's had dealings with Xavier's kid. He spent a whole year with him, keeping him sedated and cataloging all of his mental health issues. And this is where Nightcrawler heads over to Pixie and grabs her really quick. Doesn't even give her much of an explanation. Just lets her know, I need your help and I need it right now. We don't have time to explain. We have to go. And as he's trying to make his quick exit, this is when Lost appears in front of him. Now, Lost has been struggling with her powers up to this point. And Nightcrawler has been wanting to help her out. But right now, he just doesn't have the time. Literally, all of reality is at stake. And he has, but a few moments to grab some individuals to try to go stop it. And so, excusing themselves relatively quickly, they poof out of there in an instant. But as soon as they do this, Lost, with her abilities she hasn't been able to control, she makes everybody in the bar immediately just start puking all over themselves. And this is when we're taken to the coordinates inside of Nightcrawler's head. The coordinates bringing us to the desert in Saudi Arabia. And realizing very quickly that this is an Orchis facility. and there are literally bodies everywhere and a smoke cloud billowing up. And as for what happened to this facility, Legion happened. Now, as our three make their way up to Legion, Legion, he recognizes Pixie and he's like, dang, like, that's a smart move. He was like, that is a smart move on your part. You're more of a pragmatist than a priest. You know, because Legion, he's lost control more times than once. More times than the Hulk has literally ripped his trousers. And so it makes sense for them to bring along a magic dampener, you know, a just-in-case situation. And Pixie goes to apologize and just say she's sorry about Ruth's death. Not necessarily that she's to blame, but she just feels the pain as well. Now, he lets her know, right now I'm not in the right headspace to even have that conversation. And this is where he shows them that his brain is literally inside of a machine. And this is all that is remaining of his mortal body. Now, this isn't the first time that we have seen the humans doing something like this. They've been doing this with a lot of telepaths. You know, we saw Kid Omega have literally the same issue. They're using mutants against mutants. And this is where Nightcrawler fully starts to understand what is happening. And Nightcrawler, he lets Dr. Nemesis know that he needs to stay behind. Now, Pixie, she's just so confused right now. She's like, what are you talking about? But Legion lets them know that the lunatics, they've taken over the asylum. And they are going to be the medicine. And this is where they jump into the mind of Legion. And it is absolute chaos. We are seeing literally every hero just turn into the worst possible versions of themselves. Now, on the outside, Dr. Nemesis, he's letting them know that there's already been one discharge of power. That's how all of these scientists ended up dead. And Legion, you know, he doesn't even remember how these guys got a hold of him. He's not sure if it was cloned or kidnapped. All he remembers is Ruth's voice and one word whispering in the dark: inevitable. And then he was in his brain. The same old circus over again. He figured he had gotten things running smoothly, but he kept wondering, did she mean him? Is he inevitable? He's died more times than he could ever count. He's erased himself from history just to show this universe nobody truly rules over him except for him. But he always comes back. Like it or not, always playing second fiddle to the voices inside his head, always defined by the sickness and never by his strength, always Legion instead of David. But these Orchis people, they even took away David. They used their machines, their drugs to lock him out of his own mind, and all to see what happens. Now, Dr. Nemesis, he gives us a theory that David's mind is a notional reality, polluted on an infinite supply of autonomous beings representing different powers. As long as David's in charge, he can pacify them, use them, but if he's not around, it causes a whole different situation. You know, when everything is possible, but nothing matters, meaninglessness begates alienation. Desire leads to sadism and self-destruction. And before you know it, your neighbor is literally eating your face, and you're too busy pouring anthrax into the water supply to care. And so what they're doing is turning David's brain into a model of Krakoa. They're doing this so they can simulate the collapse of Krakoa, running more or less scenarios. And this is when Legion finally recognizes what Ruth meant by inevitable. You know, the fall of Krakoa, they're saying that it's inevitable. Now, Dr. Nemesis, he says, yeah, it's inevitable, possibly, but it wasn't moving very fast. And these humans, they got impatient. Orchis got impatient. And it looks like they introduced some sort of invasive exotic to speed up the failing. Now, as they're inside of his mind, they're realizing that the next discharge is coming. It's coming very soon, and there is absolutely nothing that they can do to stop it. There is only one answer to this. That answer, in the words of Dr. Nemesis, is the science of homicide. Now, Dr. Nemesis, he's itching to do it. He's like, please, let me do it. Like, come on. I've been waiting to use this new gun that I invented. Like, come on, let me use it. But this is where Nightcrawler lets him know that he's not going to be the one to do it. And Nightcrawler asks for the gun. Now, Pixie, she lets him know, like, you don't have to do this. Like, your faith, you know, this is technically murder. And Nightcrawler, he kind of ignores that. And he asks David, like, you know, you don't like being called Legion. And he lets him know, you know, my name is Nightcrawler. It's a type of worm that's ugly and disgusting, but I took it on. I owned it. I made it my own. And he lets Legion know, you're not your flaws. And if destroying a lump of meat will help you start a new fresh to rule over yourself, perhaps that's not necessarily a bad sin to be sinning. And he asks everybody to get out of the room. And he lifts up the gun and he goes to say a prayer, to ask for forgiveness before he does this. But he doesn't even care at this point. He's just like, you know what? Whatever. And he pulls the trigger. Now, this is a big deal. This is a very big deal because Nightcrawler, he's been struggling up to this point. He's been struggling very hard with the idea of resurrection and how it's unnatural. And we're also seeing him get to a point that's almost cynical, that's almost against his very nature, against his very faith. It's been very difficult for a Catholic priest to sit here and understand the new way of life that they're dealing with, and how, these young mutants have literally been taking advantage of their new immortality. And to a point, he almost disagreed with resurrection protocols. But it's seeming in circumstances like this, it's really helping him understand how the resurrection protocols can be so significant. Now, this is where we pick up a little bit later on Krakoa. And as we're getting views from all over Krakoa, everybody feels something about to happen. Everybody in Krakoa, they're gonna speak of this moment. The moment their hairs raised on their arms and the air felt heavy. Because this is where we see the rebirth of Legion. Now, Xavier, he's worried. He's worried that he's too unstable. One little lapse and he could tear down everything that they built. And Xavier says, he's not gonna use Cerebro to install his consciousness into a new body. Not until they know that it's safe. But that's the thing, that he don't even have to worry about it. And this is where we see Legion literally reconstitute his own consciousness into his own body. And Xavier almost immediately goes to apologize. And it's like, I'm sorry, like, don't take offense to that. Like, we're not sure what to do. Like, this is very sketchy territory for us. And he tells them straight up, like, yeah, don't even worry about it. Like, I know you guys got the Hellfire Gala coming up. Go show off to the world, do whatever, something important. Like, I got other things to do anyway. Now, as David or Legion goes to walk away, Magneto approaches him and lets him know, like, hey, I got a mission for you. I'm getting several other Omega level mutants together, and I would like your help in this situation. And straight up, Legion's like, no, I don't trust you. And Xavier tries to vouch for Magneto, and Legion tells him, like, I don't trust you either, man. And he lets everybody know that there are secrets here. Secrets and shadows. And he can smell the first on the both of them. And the second seems to be Kurt being the only one even looking. And he lets them all know, like, he's been inside of his head. It's full of questions, but he's not pretending that he has the answers to them. And that is something that Legion can trust in. And so he tells them, go play with your fireworks, go get drunk, and if you need me to pick up the pieces, that's not a big deal. Go build your empire. Now, Nightcrawler, he tells him, I appreciate everything that you just said back there, but you don't really know what I'm doing to even help me. But Legion tells him, there's a picture in your mind of the outfit you're wearing to the party tonight. I know exactly what you're doing. And he goes on to tell him, he's been watching this place. These people, they let the council make 3 laws. Principles, creeds, and whatever else. That tells you the most of them. They want to play fair, or at least they try to pretend to want to play fair. And while he's not necessarily agreeing with the laws, if you're looking for common ground to keep everyone from thinking we instead of me, that may be a place to start. Now, Nightcrawler says, the way you're talking, it really does sound like you think we need police more than priests. Now, Legion, he doesn't believe that there is even a word yet for what Krakoa actually needs. But whatever it is, he's pretty sure that Nightcrawler is it. Now, this is where they get to talking about that coin that they found inside of Nightcrawler's head. And it's got him thinking. He's thinking that Orchis has already took what they learned and they've already used it on them. He's thinking that they've already introduced this invasive exotic, the snowball that has already begun rolling. And he asks the one simple question, do you know who the Patchwork Man is? And Legion tells him, yes, I actually do know who it is and I can sense him. I can sense him as clear as day. But there's good reason that he didn't bring this up in front of Magneto and Xavier. He didn't bring this up Because parents don't think straight when it has to do with their children. And that's where they connect the dots. That it is onslaught. It's bloody freaking onslaught. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I am loving this line. You know, this is really dealing with the serious issues that aren't really getting talked about inside the comics. You know, we're dealing with a whole new era, a new generation of mutants that now have the ability of immortality. And so you have to question, what does that do to your humanity? What does that do to your morality when you start to see yourself as godly, as more than? You know, and this is especially hard for somebody who's a literal Catholic priest and believes that there is a God. And I really did enjoy having some Legion in here. You know, Legion's such an amazing character. And it's really awesome seeing all of these previous villains. And we're not really seeing them as villains. We're seeing them as individuals that are trying to get a new start. And most of them have been experimented on or used in some kind of manner by humanity. And so Legion, you know, while he definitely isn't the greatest dude in the world, it really does seem like he's trying to have an opportunity to start something fresh. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you don't miss any of the awesome stuff we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.